It's the dawn of another day here at the Play vs. Full 2020 High School Championship. My name is TJ, joined by one Matthew Cubby Samuelson. How are you doing?
Doing great. Another day, more collegiate, or not collegiate, high school matches coming on through.
He's recalibrating.
Yeah, I got to recalibrate.
Is a collegiate coach, so...
Well, I was just reading on all these players' college plans, which is actually really cool. They're included in this one because today, TJ, we are taking you to the state of... That's where you come in.
Yeah, I thought you were going to say it.
No, that's
we're
where
going
you
to
come
Alabama
for
our state championship. And if you're wondering how it's going to work, we are going to kick things off, of course, with a best-of-3 finals. It is one of our 29 state and regional championships we will be covering over the next few days here. So you can look forward to that. Let's talk about these two teams, because we were doing some prep. We were looking at the teams, and you were talking about how Bob Jones are currently undefeated.
Yes, so Bob Jones High School undefeated, but TJ, they're going up against the team that won the state championship last year in Thompson. And they have the same exact roster. All these players saying, it is my second time competing in this high school state championship, and we won last year, which is pretty cool. So gonna have to see if they can do it again, or if Bob Jones gets the best of them, because it seems like Bob Jones, I mean, anytime you're coming into a match 16-0, it tells me you had a pretty good regular season. You're the team to beat.
Yeah, and just looking at the records and aspirations of many of these players, I'm very impressed by the Bob Jones players. We have future aerospace engineers over there. It's pretty terrifying.
Yeah, we're just here talking about these games. These guys want to be like astronauts, I assume. It's pretty crazy, but
grander dreams than either of us.
Oh, to be in high school once again, and really fun reading about these players. We'll try and bring you some of the fun information, tidbits throughout the 2 games or 3 games, as we do have a best of 3. And I
could go all the way.
Yeah, and Bob Jones, while they haven't dropped a game, I mean, if anyone's going to be taking games off of them, it's going to be the team that won it last fall.
The defending champions, I believe that's the defending full champions. I believe that would be technically accurate. Let's head into things in our pick ban. We've been chugging along on the bans. We're going to start off the picks now as a Shen is locked in, a Vladimir against that in lane. We'll follow with our first jungle pick.
So Shen tells me team plays, bot-centric gameplay is coming on through here for the Thompson Warriors. And this Vladimir for offensively in the top lane for Bob Jones comes in as the highest ranked player in the game in solo queue at Diamond 2. Pretty darn good for a high school player, and even has a spot on a collegiate roster next year already, joining the University of Alabama in Huntsville, their team.
Keep our eye on that. Oh, Lord. You were talking about bot lane-centric play. We do have a Samira picked up here in the first pick ban phase. The counter in that AD carry role will be a Misfortune, and it is Victor to mid for the Warriors.
It's so weird for me that 2 champions have been released after Samira when she still feels like pretty brand new to all of us coming on through here.
So here's my theory. It's because Samira wasn't broken. And because she wasn't like busted on release.
She was pretty broken.
All right, there were like 2 days where she
but
was
they fixed her really fast.
But they fixed her, and she's been fine, but not like extra good. And so because it hasn't been an oppressive presence in our solo queue, it doesn't really feel like she's been added to the game yet. Release more overpowered champions, Riot.
Also, she sits on the ban list a lot. A lot.
I don't think... we can have this conversation as we get into the game, but I don't necessarily think she should. I don't think very highly of Samira. So as you say, with a Shen up on the top side of the map, the Warriors will get to test that because they will presumably be playing through that Samira in their bot lane.
Personally, I like the Annie coming on in. If you're worried about a Samira diving your team, why not Annie just drop Tibbers on Samira, get the stun off, and go from there? So I like that pick coming on through here for Bob Jones. As rounding out the comp for Thompson, we have a Kane, TJ, and we have seen Kane do very well throughout a lot of the games that we've seen for other states, high school championship state games. We're going to have to see if it's going to hold true in the state of Alabama here, as Kane is going to be the pick for Conceited Goon in the jungle.
We get a Leona support versus a Tarek support. One of those is not like the other. We've been seeing plenty of Leona in almost every level of play. Tarek is another story. Talk to me about where you think he's at.
I'm just stuck that you call him Tarek. I think that's the most British thing I've heard coming out of you, TJ.
What would you say?
Tarek, the I over the R.
Tarek.
Come on, yeah, it's Tarek. Tarek. We'll figure that out as we go. I like the Tarek because you can be invulnerable. And if you time that ultimate right, you know, having all of that power when a Samira jumps in or that quick engage is coming out could be crucial for Bob Jones in this one. That said, not anything to really combo with. Usually you see Tarek comboed with someone who can move the stun, because obviously if you link up with that teammate, you can move the stun, similar to a champion that you've been enjoying quite a bit recently, TJ, in Rel. The brand new one.
Trying to find. I have just found the official champion spotlight, and the VO does say Tarek, so...
For once, I'm right when it comes to pronunciation. Usually you take the cake on that one.
Very upsetting.
Cubby 1, TJ 0.
I don't know if I could be able to filter that. We're gonna see if I can correct that over the course of the game. I think Tarek, personally, we're both support players, obviously. I think she is, or he is, very, very powerful in the right composition, and it's going to be down to how much they can enable him in the early game. We'll find out. We're going to head right into things. The Warriors, again, over on the left side, the blue side, we kick things off. Facing Bob Jones, taking the red in our game number 1 here in the Alabama State Finals.
TJ, that's an Ignite Vladimir in the top lane.
Full commit. Phase rush Ignite Vladimir.
I'd expect nothing less from a player called defensively.
Cool defensively. You know, it does rather check out.
Yeah.
I'm worried about conceited goons then.
Conceited goon. I mean, we don't all choose to live the goon life, you know?
Sometimes the goon life chooses you.
Yeah. I think it's one of those things coming on through.
So let's talk a little bit more about this bot line, because I think that is where both of our big question marks were. My issue with Tarek normally is that he is very easy to catch out with CC and then hard punish during the early game before his healing is on a short cooldown. And Samira is pretty darn good, Samira Leona for that matter, is pretty darn good at chaining together CC to punish someone like Tarek.
Yeah, it's going to be on Sheep's Zenith Blade. See if those can come through and land. Because if they do, I'm with you, TJ. I think that this bot lane should have priority, but our issues with Samira, it's never with her power in the early game. It's just that as the game moves on, what can she do in these fights, and does she have enough CC from the rest of her team to set her up? And going up against an Annie and a Vladimir, I'm a little bit concerned for this Samira. It's going to be really tricky as the fights break out to pilot this champion if you're not really far ahead in gold.
In my opinion, Samira just also suffers from the fatal sin of not really being explicitly better than the other options in lane. Like, she is a solid laner, but I never feel like it's enough to justify picking Samira over other options. I look at her play in lane and compare it very easily to someone like Ashe or somebody like Kalista. And you can have that lane bully playstyle if you want to play aggressive with those characters and more utility in the lane game.
Yeah, and TJ, we aren't seeing that bot lane go to plan so far. Sheep playing very far back, not fishing with any of these Zenith Blades.
You'll wait for level 3 there, I think, just because
most likely.
Protection. Once Sheep has their full Leona abilities unlocked, probably going to see a full engage. Because if there is one thing that Samira does better than all the other ranged champions, that she's basically just a melee assassin.
Yes, and if you get ahead in the fights, how you were able to snowball them on Samira is very impressive as well. Obviously, that jump resets, and that Vladimir skin, I think it's new. It's very pretty coming through. I haven't seen that yet.
A little distracting.
It's very distracting.
The entire cosmos up there at the top lane, and I wasn't ready for that.
Oh, better to be spitting stars, you know? Bringing all the stars in.
No,
Really in Soul Mike jealous.
I don't know anything about spitting stars. Is this a Midwestern slang I'm not aware of, Cubby?
It's just what happens after you spit bars. The obvious next step, you know?
Sure.
We'll go with that.
I'm rolling with you, Cubby, but you're on thin ice.
As always, I would have it no other way.
Let's talk about late game, because I think it is important to note that Bob Hope, should we go late or just built to succeed? Between the Annie,
Yes.
who scales ridiculously right now, and Vladimir and Trundle, who both do better and better mid and late game. And then, of course, Tarek, who is a heal monster, and the Misfortune, who will be fine.
The big scaling points are definitely going to be the Vladimir and the Tarek, as you pointed out. Vladimir and the Shen, I mean, the more farm you get on this champion, he is the crazy late game carry. And he can do a lot of damage, but I actually really like Victor's scaling for conceded Smurf. So if they want to go late, Victor's going to be the champion to look out for here for the Thompson Warriors. But it doesn't seem to be the plan for Bob Jones. They're getting the fight started.
Killer Land will be followed by the Dazzle. Dark Front needs to run away, and in the meantime, Computer Storm has arrived. It's a very good stun. And the Mischievous to flash away, and it doesn't get them to safety. Now you've got a second Dazzle coming through. The trade kill lands. Using Slick is very low in the midst of all this, though. And you have to be worried, even as the Tarek healing comes through, it is not enough to keep them alive. That is going to be 2, maybe 3, definitely 3. Early game kills passed over. Good Dazzle. The kill will still land.
The Dazzle was not quite enough. We need to flash those Tarek emotes, I think, after the Dazzle. That should be, like, binded to the same key. But, TJ, we see Victor TP down. He participates in 3 kills. Where's the Annie TP? Irakoran still sitting on that Summoner spell. Could have been crucial in turning around the fight. Instead, wants to take some mid lane CS, some tower pressure for herself in the lane on the Annie. But look at how much they lost in the bot lane. Samira getting ahead, at least in tempo. Now Dragon being taken by this Kayn. What a play coming out from the Thompson Warriors to turn that one around and start this game off on a high note.
Well, it is a good play for the Thompson Warriors. I do want to highlight that it is required for them to get their bottom lane ahead if they want to succeed.
Yes.
And the reason why that TP may not have been matched is because Bob Jones' win condition is different. They don't particularly worry if their bot lane loses. They obviously don't want it to happen. But they win off the strength of their mid and top side. So, bot lane falling behind in the early game isn't the end of the world. Neither is their Trundle falling behind because, well, it's nice to have Trundle ahead. He'll still be a late game tank no matter what happens.
Really curious actually to see what this Trundle's building, because the pickaxe,
You're right, maybe not so tanky.
Yeah, I'm expecting the full tank coming on through. Something that's also really interesting because of that bot lane fight, TJ. Victor, he got 3 takedowns, so he has access to a very early upgrade to his E, which means that lane pressure should be going over to him in the mid lane, which makes it pretty tricky for Annie, because obviously on Annie, you want to get out of lane, utilize that point-and-click stun you have with the Q and Tibbers later, but mid-prio going over to Victor not only keeps Annie on the tower, but also opens things up for Kayn to get a little bit more CS, and he is someone that also scales very well with farm.
Do you want to know something hideous?
What, this Annie skin?
Thought as the Annie Sun does land.
I don't like the Annie skin. That's...
Okay, well, I wouldn't make fun of children, but it's nice to know that you would. On League of Legends Wild Rift, the mobile version of League of Legends, the Annie E isn't point and click. The skill shot.
What?
Yeah. Told you it was hideous.
That's wild, man. That is the point and click champion.
Really sad. But still good chat, even on
oh, very much so.
Mobile phones. No. If you're looking for my tier list, it'll be out later this week. Up top lane, offensively, is dominating this matchup. He would be head on my tier list there, and that's a very, very good sign for Bob Jones, who again wants to be able to win off of the strength of their top side.
It's also very concerning. We saw those resources get put into the Samira, TJ. That lane is frozen, and the side of Bob Jones doing a fantastic job of freezing this, harassing Samira every single time she walks up to try and get CS, and it's just going to grow the lead for the Misfortune.
Offensively, stalling out this back twice now, and just really punishing UCAX. This is going to mean that he himself in that top lane, offensively, can continue to farm up and build gold, build a CS advantage. It's now over a 10 CS advantage. Less than the 10-minute mark. That's going to get worse as that wave shoves towards turret.
DJ, I want to see Sheep play on up. This Leona is down in levels compared to the Samira because of how far back the Leona's been playing. And if you aren't going offensive in this lane, it's not really worth picking the Samira because it's all about the early game, all about getting ahead early. And playing struggling so much, they even need to call in their junglers to try and fix the wave, try and get a clean base coming on out.
What's Kane gonna do there, though? So it's frozen. Kane shows up, signs an autograph, and heads back to base, because really, what is a Kane gonna do there?
This is also true.
I agree with your call for the Leona. I think using the Shield of Daybreak, the Leona can clear that wave, shove it towards turret. Instead, they appear to have managed to gain or break the freeze the other way. And it will be slightly further forward now.
Bot lane struggling. We want to see the Samira get ahead, but the 25 CS lead is very good laning coming out from Misfortune.
That freeze is actually devastating.
Yes.
Because it's XP as well as CS that Dark God is losing.
Very much so.
Gets hit by the Vladimir there.
It couldn't deal with the gravitational pull coming out from the new skin.
Nailed by the Hemo Plague.
Moving back into the bot lane, you're going to have to see if that freeze is broken.
So good.
Yeah, burning the ultimate. I mean, you just base here for free, get a very nice timing on that back, and I'm expecting an Eclipse coming out here for I'm a Miss You Bud. And on Misfortune, when you have Eclipse, that is a ton of power you're bringing into the laning phase, in the potential team fights coming through. It'd be really difficult for the Warriors to deal with. Oh my.
Conceited Goon really thought he had something here. Will just be full CC chained by the Annie. Needs to get bailed out by Smurf, who did rotate in on the Victor. That will mean that nobody dies, but again, Thompson High School not feeling the advantage they must have felt they earned during that early game.
This bot lane play coming out from Bob Jones High School has been stellar. And I think that the individual play from this dual lane has kind of been the thing that turns this one around back in favor. And TJ, I'm starting to get concerned about the Thompson Warriors, because when you pick Shen, you pick that champion because you want to make plays in the bot lane. And what do we see? We see a freeze coming out from Bob Jones. We haven't seen Stand United being used by the Shen yet. It's usually a skill that you want to use as soon as Shen hits 6, try and get onto the map and make a positive impact for your team. The more time that the Warriors, spend farming up, doing nothing, I really feel like that benefits Bob Jones, as you established earlier in this game.
I think you're absolutely right, and credit to this. I know this is a kind of slow game to watch, but you have to understand, for League of Legends nerds like us, the way that this bot lane, specifically I'm a Miss You Bud, has been playing is just exhilarating. They have denied so much PS XP, and now they're going for the Drake. The steal does not come through. You will have to be vulnerable from the Taric ultimate. I don't think there's going to be much gain from it. It does waste exactly one Samira ult. You have a minor victory there, but now 2 kills have gone over. And right after we talk up the bot lane for Bob Jones, they sort of inch away their lead, diving into a Dragon Pit.
Yeah, flashing in as Taric to steal Dragon versus a Smite, and then flashing in as Misfortune to finish off a kill that you didn't have. Questionable play. Yeah, I was not expecting that. I was expecting an ult come across 4 members. Instead, very different.
Just really unnecessary, to be honest. I'm a Miss You Bud flashing in, as you say, to a pit with 4 players in it. Sure, you have the Taric invulnerability, but it's not going to keep you alive for even the duration of this Samira ultimate, let alone long enough to make a play there. Very questionable.
Yeah. Well, we've come to expect some of these plays out of the high school players. Obviously, that's
but you want to know something beautiful? Because of how well that lane went, it hasn't even made a dent in the goal difference.
Well, at least in that bot lane, given the overall goal difference, though, 1.5K over the Warriors is actually pretty good for them.
But that is entirely on Smurf.
Yes.
The entire goal difference, the entire lead that Thompson Warriors have is from their mid lane, which is a good place to be, as we seem to be buckling in for a long one.
Victor is a champion that can do a lot. Victor can do a lot with that gold. Just given the range and also access to the slow once he gets all upgrades, which he's pretty close to, thanks given the fact that he has 5 takedowns. So I believe that's an extra 25 points. So he's only 50 creeps or 2 more takedowns away from getting access to that slow and all of his abilities. And how much range he gets with that E, that laser that you guys see on the screen. He can zone off Annie, zone off Vladimir, and all of a sudden, Bob Jones, they're going to be faced to, create an angle on him. Try and get Vladimir to set up, coming from behind with dropping the Hemo Plague, or trying to just figure something out. Need different angles. You can't just run into a Victor. It usually doesn't work out too well.
Usually.
Usually.
I like you hedging your bets there. Yeah, I think it's a very good point to make, and at the very beginning of this game, to your credit, you said the Victor was going to be the late game carry for the Warriors, and I didn't put too much credence on it at that time because there are so many other late game options for Bob Jones. But as we've headed later, I think you've just made a very good point, which is that Bob Jones, despite maybe having a stronger overall late game, doesn't necessarily have the tools to gain access to Smurf on that Victor. And that means that they are going to have to run at the Victor and just hope it works out, hope the skills don't land.
Yeah, if I'm Victor, I'm going for Banshee's Veil soon. Just stop Annie from dropping a Flash Tabers. That might be the only way to engage, as we have a face check.
You have a face check, and it will be very swiftly punished. Sheep drop the Solar Flare, though. That will turn things around. Dark Rod manages to get one, drop the remaining 2 players there very, very low. And with Ukes coming in, it is going to be a devastating ball lane engagement for Bob Jones High School, as all of a sudden Dark Productions has a big lead.
All right, Ukes, took a while for you to use that Stand United, but I'd say it is used very well in that bot lane, as I was surprised that it got casted on Leona. I thought Leona was going down for sure, but the 2-man Solar Flare hits. Leona walks out with her life, and the Warriors walk out with a big win in the bot lane, once again turning around to play down there.
I'm fascinated by the series of errors that led to that play turning. Because it did start so strong, but it was, of course, an engagement onto the Leona. Talked about a face check. Leona is one of the few champions in this game that kind of can face check, because, as you saw, a lot of abilities get dumped into killing the Leona. Leonas are very capable of walking out of that.
W on Leona is a pretty high value spell when it comes to getting tanky.
And then,
one might say not balanced.
And then, of course, once all of the kill pressure, all of the CC spells in that engagement had been dumped onto Sheath, you had a pretty free kill. You had a pretty guaranteed turn. Ukes with a good timing on the Stand United moments after you call them out for perhaps not using it in time.
We will take those coming on through. And TJ, speaking of taking those, Dragon. A significant Dragon, because it might be the first one that Bob Jones feels like they need to contest. We have 2 going over to Kane, the rest of his team, and a potential fight breaking out as they're trying to zone Trundle off of the Dragon. He's going to get chunked out. Oh, he's dead.
Getting demolished here by Smurf. And that is just the drag picked up. There's no way to contest now that the jungler is down. Bob Jones don't have a smite to take the Drake. Don't have a 5-man squad to win the 5v5. So, Drake will be picked up. And as you quite rightly pointed out, the Warriors now are on their 3rd Drake, which means the next one would get them the all-important Ocean Soul. Could be game-ending.
Especially since it's Ocean Soul. All the regen coming on through just means that you get to keep on fighting, but Bob Jones, it feels like they've wanted to play it slow to let offensively scale up into this top lane. He is up 30 CS, but no other game has been made for their teams, right? They lost mid rather hard. That turret is now down as well. You can see Conceited Smurf poking into the jungle, even denying camps away from Trundle, who's behind. Their bot lane lane fantastically, but the team plays coming out from the Warriors turned that matchup around even. I'm curious to see what Bob Jones High School tries to do. These guys were undefeated during the regular season, and it feels like they're just sitting back and kind of letting the Warriors make plays and beat them.
I think it is worth noting that we said they would do better in the late game. So allowing, coming into it with the mindset of, okay, we can just stall out this game isn't a mistake in and of itself.
Mhm.
But as we've been talking about, the next Drake is coming up, and the next Drake is possibly game deciding. So you're out of runway if you're a Bob Jones fan. And they've either
Right.
got to take flight now or crash into the end of the runway. Is that too morbid?
I mean, we're going to be crashing into Victor, so I'd say that he stands for the end of the runway, considering how much gold he has in his pockets. I mean, this is potentially a Lich Bane going to be ready for the next fight. Trundle's going down.
Now, and that would be a do death now. It will happen nonetheless. You and Slick picked off, burned down over the period of time. And a solar flare is actually going to catch this Carrick out. Dead to right. I don't know why this is continuing, but a deep dive from Dark Rod will find yet another kill. A triple kill, just handed over one piece at a time in the bottom side of the map.
And that's the danger of Samira, right? These skirmishes where the team brings the crowd control, that's where she really thrives as a champion. And
this is good. Smurf trying to leverage his lead to shut down the win condition for Bob Jones. Offensively wins out the trade quite hard, but doesn't find the kill. If either player had found the kill there, it would have been huge. Sorry, continue.
No, it would have been shut down gold onto the Vladimir. That's crucial. That conceded Smurf lives, but Samira in those skirmishes so powerful and piloted very well by Dark Prod too. I think the dashing in and out of that fight, managing to pick up that triple is big. And TJ, we see the shield bow, but I think we're going to have a collector coming in from Samira, which means that the execute damage will be there for the champion as well. And when you pop ult with the collector, that's a lot of damage that goes onto the enemy team.
I love shield bow on Samira as well because it gives you that extra survivability to guarantee you get to ult each team fight. So really, really fun build. And we were criticizing, I want to call ourselves out. We were criticizing this bottom lane for not being aggressive enough in lane. It turns out that they maybe just had a better understanding than we did of where Dark wants Samira spike. And now that we've arrived here in the mid-game, they're saying it doesn't really matter that we lost the laning phase. We can win these mid-game team fights by virtue of the Samira.
Certainly seems to be the setup now as 5k gold TJ Dragon. It's about 90 seconds away, 2 minutes away from spawning. 90 seconds is the thing.
That was good math.
Look at that. It's not too bad. Very crucial here because if this dragon goes over, we are calling this game, right? Ocean Soul is going to be too much for Bob Jones to overcome. So they need to formulate some sort of contest. You can see the resets coming out here from offensively, and you isn't Slick. Try and get control over this river, but they have a tough hill to climb.
Offensively participate. I think that's a big
yes. 2 items on the Vladimir has to make something happen.
The Vladimir is the only scary champion on that side. I think it's worth noting that Irakorn didn't really lose his lane. The Victor got ahead, but not because Irakorn made mistakes. So that Annie isn't too far behind. Irakorn very probably can do damage in this team fight.
Would like to see the Annie utilize that TP a little bit more to get involved around the map, but certainly didn't lose because of the play that happened in mid lane. Victor with some nice roams, so props to conceded Smurf on that. And
yeah,
I think Thompson Warriors has definitely shown team play that proves, potentially how they won the fall championship last year, right? Their team play has been very good in this game.
Offensively is really looking for that pick there in the mid lane because offensively knows that shutting down conceded Smurf could be game-changing, and they need to throw a Hail Mary here. Chase down. Vic will be pushed upward into the jungle. This is going to change the pace of play here, slow it down. And Bob Jones are going to have to reorganize their formation before they can access this strike.
So the good thing
when they don't,
oh no,
they stay split offensively. He's all the way up top here, and that is huge. Dude, in the meantime, it's surrounded by a 4-man Radiant, but I don't think that will change things. You isn't Slick trying to get away. They've already lost offensively. There is no big damage available for Bob Jones, and as a result, they will be eaten alive in the critical team fight. A triple kill to conceded Smurf as the Thompson Warriors pick up that game-ending Ocean Soul and 17 kills.
The second place regular season team taking it to the undefeated Bob Jones High School. And TJ, I really like the setup from their team to catch out the Vladimir. I don't know why offensively took that path. The Victor was too punishing. Conceded Smurf has been so solid on this champion the entire game, sitting at 7-0-3, pumping out that damage. And that's going to be what breaks the camel's back, TJ. Ocean Soul now, you can see the healing coming through in combat. It means they can just stick on this Baron forever, stick in these fights forever, and Bob Jones, they're out of answers. They're out of time. They didn't make enough plays. The Warriors capitalized on everything. Huge lead in this game. We expect them to shut this one out pretty soon.
And we did talk about it. I didn't call it out at the time. I said they need to reorganize their formation because they were like weirdly split. I was looking at that Bob Jones setup across the map, and you know, the Victor was left alone in mid lane offensively, and Ewis and Slick were clearly disconnected from their allies. So there needed to be a moment of shot calling, a moment of leadership on their team where they say, okay, we can't go for this. We need to let them start the Drake, take that time to set up for the critical team fight. And instead, offensively gets caught out, kind of wandering towards the team. And I don't know what can be done for Bob Jones High School at this point. It would seem by their positioning and behavior, neither do the players.
Yeah, coming into this one, I mean, offensively is a player that we hyped up in this top lane, right? Coming in at D2, already on a collegiate team for this upcoming year. And it's not like offensively has played poorly, right? Taking the counter matchup and being up in CS is good, but I just want to see offensively try and help out the rest of the squad because the Vladimir hasn't done any of that as Conceded Smurf just continues to run through this game. My goodness.
Yeah, offensively has only taken a couple of risks this game. And they've only made one mistake this game, but that one mistake was unfortunately game-defining. And it must suck to play a pretty solid game up there in the top lane. We'll see if offensively can maybe get something back here, going in very aggressively. Still have the Radiant behind them, but just not doing very much damage at this time. Dark Prod, very, very low. Does it the shield boast? Watch out for that burst of regen. You can see the Ocean Soul just doing its good work. Nobody goes down. And there's Smurf with the big damage. The aggressive Hail Mary thrown down the mid lane will be taken out easily by the Warriors as they just back up and meet the aggression. And that should be game.
Thompson Warriors, so impressive in this game one victory, TJ. I mean, 23-1 on the scoreboard. That is... We've been casting quite a few of these high school state championships. I have not seen 23-1 on the scoreboard. This is going to be a very clean win for the Warriors.
Yeah, it is only game one, and while it may say 23-1 at the top of the screen, I do want to register that Bob Jones were out ahead at various points in this game. Unfortunately, they never arrived at a position where they could invest those leads into anything that made them look good in the highlight reels or the scoreboard, and that's got to change come game two.
I want to see more playmaking coming out from Bob Jones, and I think that it has to start with offensively. If you're coming in as the highest ranked player in this game, I want to empower that player to impact the map. And I think the Vladimir, taking that backseat approach, saying, all right, if this game goes late, I can carry this one through. Didn't work out game one. Let's see him switch it up for game two. See what happens when you give offensively something like a Shen, where you have a lot of priority and you're able to make plays.
Ask offensively to participate earlier in the rest of the map, try and leverage that lead, because we saw that they were dropping critical team fights during the early game. I will call back to those two bottom lane fights that decided that there wouldn't be any other map presence.
Absolutely.
So we'll have to see that changed. But there is a chance to change it. Game number 2 in the Alabama State Finals right after this 5-minute break. Welcome back. It's time for game number 2 of our Alabama State Final. My name's still TJ, still joined by one Matthew Samuelson. How are you doing?
Doing great, TJ. I must say, game 1, little one-sided. Kind of like what I've got behind me. It was all blue side.
You know, it just looks kind of gray on camera.
Oh, I'm
Maybe
bummed.
hold up. Let me.
But you have the gray jacket on. Come on.
You know what? It looks a little bit better on my other monitor.
Okay.
But on my main monitor, it's very gray. Just
Okay.
like the screens of the Bob Jones High School players.
Whew. Yeah, it was a tough game for Bob Jones, and no losses in the regular season. They drop a game there from good play from the Thompson Warriors, showing why they might have won that 2019 Fall State Championship.
I want to narrow down on what we liked and what we didn't like from the Bob Jones High School players, though, because there were really cool things. Offensively, definitely one lane, definitely played to their own condition, didn't contribute enough to the rest of the map. We did see I'm a Miss You Bud as the AD carry absolutely dominate a laning phase, build out a truly terrifying CS and experience lead, and then struggle to apply that to team fights. So those two conditions are maybe actually tied to each other, as a little more top lane presence in those fights from offensively would have enabled the CS lead to carry forward a little more.
TJ, I like the fact you're bringing up the bot lane too, because we actually have a sub for this game. So last game we had Allen, Dark Prod, playing AD, looking real good on that Samira. This game, I'm cheating and using my notes. We've got Light Locust stepping in. His name's Carter, a senior. Wants to be going to pursue radiological sciences at the University of South Alabama. Wow, that's
super cool.
That is very
I do want to clarify, maybe I'm incorrect here, but I believe Dark Prod is the substitute.
Is listed as a sub, yes.
Yes.
So stepped in for game 1. Now Light Locust going to step in, is listed as a starter for game 2. So yes.
Started with the sub.
Yeah.
Well, you know.
That doesn't bode well for Bob Jones, considering how one-sided that game looked.
You know what's wild? Every other player here has their year listed, has what year they are in school.
Mm-hmm.
Dark Prod does not.
Oh.
It is unclear.
Everyone else seems to be a senior, so I'm going to guess senior. If not, we'll be seeing more Dark Prod in the future, because obviously Playverse is doing this quite a bit. We'll talk about spring signups later, but TJ, we got to catch up on this draft.
We do. Victor and Trundle are the first two for Thompson, and then a Ash thrown in for the bottom lane. Over on Bob Jones' side, they can't get the Trundle, so they get the next best ice-based tank jungler. It's going to be Sejuani, with Leona and Jin picked up for the bottom lane.
Yeah, Sejuani picked up first. The Trundle is the old-school counter coming out for the Goon. And TJ, I like the priority that we see on this Victor, because Conceited Smurf was outstanding on this champion in the last game, and the fact that the Warriors recognize that, they say, we want to run that one back again, taking that first pick, like the boldness coming on through.
I want to also call out Bob Jones' first draft cycle, though, because Leona and Jin is a very scary bot lane right now.
And Leona was a pick they denied as well.
Yeah, so giving I'm a Miss You Bud the opportunity to maybe have a bit more teamfight impact during the mid-game is good, given the performance we saw last game. We do get a Corki.
Ooh.
And oh boy, a Rel, which makes me very happy. Ash Rel, I think, is undervalued. That is a very scary lane, actually. We're going to get a Ornn into the top side. Not to go too far down my Rel main train, I'm very excited about Rel right now, but Ash Rel works really well, and particularly with the playstyle we saw from Sheep last game, where Sheep was very, very passive until there were good low percent risk opportunities. That is exactly how you want to play Rel. So I'm excited for the champion player synergy, for the bot lane champion synergy as Ash scales up into these static fights that Rel enables. I think this is going to be a great bot lane and a solid mid lane for Thompson. I'm actually very happy with their draft.
I like the fact that Bob Jones, we talked about how we want to offensively to be on more of a playmaker. Sion is someone who can start fights and does get priority in the Ornn lane. And so I like that change coming up as well. And the only melee lane, solo lane, that you isn't Slick can go to as Sejuani, which is very important too.
But I think it's important to note Thompson also took a learning from that last game, and that was that Bob Jones are playing through offensively. So guess what they draft in the top lane? That's right, it's going to be Ornn. You're not playing through anything, Chief. That Ornn is really hard to shut down in lane.
Gonna have to see if that is the case, TJ, as we're about to get into game here real soon. Game 2, game 1 obviously going over to the Warriors. Gonna have to see if Bob Jones can turn it around on this one.
Only one game away for Thompson from taking their second full championship, returning the title to their trophy cabinet. Bob Jones went undefeated in the regular season, handed their first L just moments ago. We'll now see if they can get themselves a second win.
Do you think that
game 3?
Do you think that like they have high school trophies? Because that's something that would make me pretty excited. Like having that trophy throughout the high school.
If I were, I don't know if Play Versus, I ought to know this. I apologize, Play Versus. I don't know if Play Versus mails trophies.
Or like if like the high school association.
If I
does
were
for
a
Alabama.
coach at a high school, I would make sure there was a trophy.
Oh, for sure. That was, I still remember back like high school team sport days, we won regionals for golf. We got to like march that thing around the school and hang it up. It was awesome.
Where do you live again, Matthew?
You'll never guess, but I'm actually from the Midwest. I don't know what gave it away.
The idea of marching a golf trophy through the halls.
It was like a plaque. We got to like throw it up like on the wall with all the other teams. It was cool. I played well, man. It was a windy day.
I'm happy for you.
Yeah.
Genuinely. It's a little wild to me, but I'm genuinely happy for you.
Thank you, TJ. Glad we can be happy for each other here as we are getting into the game. Red buff started for both junglers. Looks like full clear for
Trump.
Trump.
Be happy about. Don't push that on me. I'm being depressed over here.
Notice how I didn't ask you about high school, TJ.
We did start very, very safe. It will be. I didn't win any golf trophies.
I know.
It will be a red start on both sides. I want to note that Uwazn Slick was warded. So Thompson do know where the Bob Jones jungler is headed. But both these junglers are relatively passive, so I don't imagine that that will amount to much.
I mean, I think Uwazn Slick might be looking to change that because Sejuani is pathing buff to buff right now and potentially looking to get out onto the map early. Surprised that it isn't towards top, though, because offensively, a melee champion, you can stack up that Sejuani E faster in order to get the stun off. So usually she likes to gank those melee lanes. Instead, looking towards the bot side. Leona can help with that as well. But usually we see Sejuani, when it's played at higher levels, really focus on getting those solo laners ahead.
I'm curious whether or not that engagement will happen towards bot lane as well, because attempting to gank AHSAA seems like a recipe for disaster, and indeed, moments after we talk up the possibility of a gank, Uwazn Slick defaults to a safer jungle path. There we go. Perhaps just the buff-to-buff pathing was just because of the war, or he conceded good in the invading.
A lot of handshakes we have this game, PJ. Something we haven't touched on is the Corki into the Victor. This is a pick that can scale just as hard as Victor and gets through the lane all right. Same with Ashe in the Jhin, right? A little bit more lane priority. You don't get as much range as the Jhin, but you can try and rival the early power. I'm curious to see. It feels like, once again, this game is going to fall upon the playmakers. So my eyes are really going over to the junglers in this early game and the supports. Let's see if either of them can get out of lane and make some sort of team play happen across the map. Because I don't think either team wants to focus on this bot lane. I think that they want to try and get mid ahead, try and get top ahead, play the game like that.
Both these bot lanes will be devastating in mid-game team fights.
Mm-hmm.
I think I do like Rel Ashe a little bit more because they scale into late-game team fights as well. Whereas Jhin tends to fall off versus tanky teams, which...
He might go Gale Force, though. I'm a big fan of Gale Force Jhin coming through.
Just the added mobility? What's the major upside?
So the added mobility is nice. Gale Force also grants movement speed, which Jhin uses in a very nice manner. And going crit is still powerful on Jhin. I think that throughout the years, we've seen both iterations of Jhin builds, right? Lethality and crit. Into this team, I want to see Gale Force Jhin. I think that is the way to go.
Uwazn Slick has been lurking down bottom now.
Yeah, it's been like 2 waves. The wave
Just
is
back.
pushing. They're waiting. Oh, okay. Wait, just back now?
Yeah.
Oh,
Uwazn
man.
Slick backed right now.
It's a lot of time wasted. The wave was about to get in the spot.
Yeah, the wave had been shoving forward, so there was going to be an opportunity, like you're pointing out, and they back instead.
For Uwazn Slick as well, now going up to the top lane camps, those haven't been cleared yet. So this is actually going to put Sejuani further behind because these are lower experienced camps coming on through. And you need to get those to respawn to get the higher XP. So Sejuani going to fall a little bit further behind in this map as Conceited Goon utilizes that reset, starting up the Dragon with that bot lane prio too. Like this play coming out from the Warriors.
Very well played. The shove was happening simultaneously in mid and bottom. And it means that the Thompson Warriors have both of the 2 laners who could access that Drake pushed backwards. Try and be punished here as Uwazn Slick arrives in the mid lane. Conceited will flash away, burning the all-important summoner spell, but staying alive.
I think Uwazn Slick could have flashed and tried to follow up on that one. Not going to be the case. Instead, just going to take the win in summoner spells, win in health bars for the mid lane. Gonna have to see if the Sejuani can return to that lane, though, because it is now big target on Victor's head, right? Once Sejuani hits 6, that Glacial Prison could be crucial in netting a first blood.
How are you feeling about our top lane as it's been kind of going here?
Big tank slap people wet noodle. Something like that.
Yeah, but one of the noodles is substantially more... I don't know how to make this work. One of the noodles is hurting more than the other one. UCAX has been losing out on the trading, but remarkably not falling behind in CS.
Right. It's... Overall, as long as the clean bases get off, not a big deal. That said, offensively, we expect this player to be doing well in these games, but the fact that UCAX is keeping up in CS and neutralizing what we think is the star player for Bob Jones, I think it speaks very highly to the game plan that the Warriors had coming into this one.
We actually just saw a really good play from UCAX. They read that offensively was backing, stayed in lane, got an extra wave, and shoved under turret before backing themselves. So now they probably won't end with the CS lead. They will guarantee that offensively can do nothing to their own turret during this time.
We have a rather slow early game, as I think both teams want to... Yeah, I think they want to make sure that these guys scale up in the mid lane, because Victor and Corky, both very, very good with gold. I cannot emphasize how much damage these two champions do. All Corky does is damage. That guy can do so much damage in this game, so I think that both teams are just comfortable kind of waiting for that to happen, and it seems like we're just handshaking until then.
Bob Jones, if the last game is anything to go by, certainly very willing to handshake. No. Nothing too surprising there. You know, I really like chill League of Legends. I know that you're more of an LPL guy, and I frequently cast with our mutual friend Matt and Iberia Clendaniel, who of course cast the Chinese League, where things happen awfully quickly.
Mm-hmm.
But I kind of like. I always liked the Korean style of play, the sit in the scale, wait for a big fire team fight in the late game.
I think TJ just likes this because he gets more time to sip on his tea, which I must admit, I've been doing quite a bit of as well. It's
been drinking tea. Have I had that effect on you, or is this?
Oh, I've always been drinking tea.
So it's just been independent. You've not been.
Oh yeah, no,
scaling up or anything.
Green tea. My routine for this is I will go start with green tea because has a little bit of caffeine in there that gets the energy going, and then you scale up into the honey tea where that soothes your throat after a little bit of casting. It's a good strat.
I have tea that is specifically for my throat, and then I also have black tea, and I have both those cups along with 2 glasses of water on my desk at all times whilst I'm casting. Although I am dismayed to report that I'm currently all out of tea and one of my glasses of water, so depending on how late this goes, there may be a tragedy.
Well, right now it seems like we're in for a late one, as fortunately for you, TJ, Dragon is spawning soon. I expect this to go over to the Trundle, considering that priority does still lay with the Ashe and the Victor. And what we've seen these high school teams do, and do well to their credit, is taking objectives with priority. Something that, as a collegiate coach, definitely something that I look for when watching these teams, and I'm very happy to see.
We will keep our eye on this, as this strike would have been a
here we
huge
go.
opportunity. That Pillar Ferromancy combo is beautiful. And first blood at the 10-minute mark will be passed over to the Warriors, as 3 members of the team operate in perfect synergy to shut down Yumas and Slack.
And that's the use of priority that we see, TJ. The bot lane shoved up. Oh, yeah, boy.
Solar Flare, Valkyrie, a deep dive, grabs Blind Locust. They're instantly gone. TP will be coming in to back up Sheep, who is demounted. You'll see the remount and
more
TPs try to stay alive, but the kill is still deployed. Anyway, you have another TP in. Conceded Smurf is instantly destroyed by the Kirk Gold, and that is a triple kill to I'ma Miss You Bud, and a massive team fight to Bob Jones. Immediately after a small victory for Thompson, they strike back.
Flashbacks from last game, TJ, as Bob Jones, it's just kind of flipped around, right? Bob Jones, their TPs, they get to bot lane first. Props to offensively, who doesn't cast his TP but successfully cancels Ornn in the top lane. So another summoner spell picked up in advantage for Bob Jones, and a good play coming out from them. All the gold going over to the Jhin. Already has that Eclipse in his inbox, in his pockets, bringing it down to the bot lane. Very good start for Bob Jones. This is what we wanted to see from them, right? Early plays. Good start.
This is what I wanted to see some from good... Trouble, Cubby. This is what I wanted to see from some good League of Legends as well, because both those team fights were just really well executed. The state of Alabama is bringing it today. The first engagement with the pillar to cut off Ewers and Slick's retreat, followed by excellent tank engage and the flank punish from Conceited Smurf, was just wonderful. And then you had the follow-up, where Plutek utilized the entirety of Leona's CC kit to lock down the fight, while off the back of the Valkyrie and Curtain Call, I'm a Miss You Bud and Unicorn, did a ton of damage just dancing around that fight while everyone was locked up. That was just genuinely good team fighting in both cases on both teams.
It was in the right timing as well, TJ. We saw the blue buff contest when mid and bot lane priority went over to the Warriors, whereas the answer came after some cooldowns were burned, and Irakorn had that Corki package, right? That buffed up Valkyrie to dive into the fight, do a lot of damage. So good play coming out here from both teams, as small advantage over to Bob Jones in this one. Still have a close one on our hands. Dragons are split early, and I expect more calmness, but as we wait for the next dragon to spawn, that is where we're going to start to see these big fights break out, with both teams trying to contest over that major objective.
I'm going to be very concerned as we go on here about the size of this Jhin. Concerned is the wrong word. I may be delighted. I'm a Miss You Bud is already at their mythic, very far ahead at this point off the back of the kills they earned in those last few fights.
The same story. It's a different bot laner this time for the side of the Warriors, but feels like the same story coming on through the fact that I'm a Miss You Bud is getting ahead in lane. Kills help this time, but CS, that'd be that way either way, just with how this AD carry has played out the laning phase.
And that does speak to the consistent factor, which is, of course, Sheep. Sheep has been here both times in lane, and both times played very passive. This time around, it makes a lot more sense. That isn't an opportunity creator. A little bit of damage here in the top lane. Actually, you can access the flash away. Gets tagged up by the ultimate. Glacial Prison should confirm the kill. A flash is burned to secure it offensively, finding the kill. And that should be the turret very low as well. I don't think it'll be dropped here, but offensively can loop around and grab it in a few moments. So, turret and a kill to Bob Jones if that gets converted.
Close to being a little sloppy coming out there as Sejuani waited a little bit too long on that ultimate. You can throw it after you proc the E-stun to get the extra damage and then stun them up once again and kind of chain that through. It doesn't end up happening. Both health bars do go low, but in the end, same result. Ornn goes down. First brick over to the side of Bob Jones High School and onto offensively, which we saw this player who we've been highlighting in the series didn't do well in the last game, didn't have priority, but it now feels like the rest of the team really putting an effort into getting the Scion ahead and enabling offensively to do some great things on the Rift.
And for all we talked about the importance of the Vladimir for offensively last game, offensively didn't actually have a lot of support in lane. We didn't see a ton of ganks, we didn't see a ton of team presence there. So this is already a different and better look for Bob Jones. They now have offensively out ahead in lane with the turret destroyed. They have I'm a Miss You winning their own lane, and 3 assists to Irakorn, giving them a nice little bounty of gold.
DJ, one thing that I really want to look out for, you have highlighted this earlier, we highlighted the player in the last game. Conceited Goon on Trundle has a lot of potential to have a huge impact, which is a little bit tougher for a viewer to see, especially if you aren't familiar to League of Legends, just due to Subjugate, right? The fact that you can take so many stats away from a tank if you cast that ultimate onto them. I think it's going to be very important as this game moves on, just given the fact that you're against Scion and Sejuani and Leona. You can turn one of those extremely tanky members into kind of mush and steal all those stats. And I want to see if Trundle is going to be good at utilizing that ultimate at the right time and utilizing those pillars to also create the zones so the rest of the team can follow up.
We'll keep our eye on it. We'll also keep our eye on this Drake, which is coming up.
Here
Bob
comes
Jones
the big fight.
do have control right now of the river. All 10 players on this map have rotated down towards the fight.
Ooh, I think they waited out the package successfully, which is very important, right? The Corky package brings a lot more damage to the table. And I have to see if they can get in the pit now. I think we're going to have a fight break out.
Offensively leading the fight. Pull the forward shot will come through, not deployed. UCAC doesn't hit the recast. But in the meantime, this Drake hasn't been taken. Conceited Goon is right on top of it. Effectively will be the first player to fall. Drake does go over to Bob Hope. Conceited on the deep dive, doesn't find the trade, so it's 1 for 2, 2 for 2. Now as the kills are picked up, Conceited Goon and UCAX both gone, only offensively to Bob Jones. They will go down overall. A win in the fight for Bob Jones as Thompson lose the Drake and their 2 top side players.
And props to Bob Jones for being the first one to make that play, TJ, because they were in that river, because they were threatening with the Corky package. It felt like that is the big reason they were able to win the fight, because Conceited Goon and UCAX, they just had to dive too far deep into the rest of the squad. You can't get through the Scion for free. They try to get around him. Not going to be able to work out, as offensively he does go down, but buys enough time to win his team the fight and take the objective.
I would like to issue an official apology. I thought Uiz and Slick went down. Playing at the very front of that fight, landing a critical smite to secure the Drake alongside I'm a Miss You, who I believe actually did get the Drake itself. And then just getting chased down by Conceited Goon, who really wanted to find a kill onto their counterpart. And I was 100% sure Uiz and Slick was going to fall, but due to their great kiting and the team around them, I want to highlight the positioning, the way Bob Hope punched up there. They only lost their frontline tank and offensively. Everyone else managed to stay alive and get away.
Pretty smooth Sejuani drift on out of there, PJ. As we're gonna, I do want to see if we see the Sejuani combo with like the QR, which we like to call the drift ultimate. You know, you can drift around the rift. Uiz and Slick want to see that coming out from the Sejuani.
As in like cars drifting. Okay,
yeah, exactly. It like Sejuani looks like she's drifting when you cast QR. It's really funny because like the R comes out from the spot where like you start your Q. Weird.
This Drake is up. We'll unpack that later. It's completed. Did get the Rift Herald for Thompson Warriors. And it looks like nothing else will come of it. I speak too soon. UCAX has to flash away from what could have been a big burst of damage there. Just stay ahead of it, however. So, though the flash is burned, nobody dies. The Rift Herald is in Conceited Goon's pocket.
Conceited Goon doing the best Goon move you can possibly do, right? Just slipping in there and stealing the Rift Herald. Says thanks for the leash.
Okay, how do you drift on a wild boar? Is that what she's riding? How do you drift on a wild boar?
If you isn't Slick pulls this off, it's so like the QR, right? That combo. The ultimate...
Sure, I believe the animation is weird. I'm just talking like physically. How do you drift on a wild boar?
I don't know, man. That's why Sejuani's on that boar and not me. That's for sure.
I'll leave it to the experts.
I have no idea how to pilot that thing. That'd be terrible.
You know what? I don't know why I asked you. To be fair, you're not a wild boar rider. I really should be asking someone who knows more about that. My bad.
Maybe like anyone participating in the Alaskan bobsleds. Maybe if we get to cast the Alaska State Championship, then we can ask them up there if they have any experience with that.
I don't think they have wild boar in Alaska.
Well, yeah, but you know, dog bobsledding is it's close. Closer than what I have. I just swing clubs, man.
Do you have a dog?
I had a childhood dog, yeah.
Did it act like a boar?
It was 12 pounds.
Okay, I see where this misconception has come from then. Let me
she was the one on my back.
You, the majority of dogs are not like wild boar. I don't know what kind of... You may have actually just had a wild boar and someone called it a dog.
I feel like I just need to like kind of lay down and have you ask me like how I'm feeling, you know, like with the notebook, glasses, all that. I feel like that's where this is going.
Is this your therapy? Is that?
It sure is starting to get close, which all for therapy, you know. If I don't know how good you are at this, TJ, but
oh, terrible. You're gonna be so messed up at the end of
I'm
this
glad
process.
I'm in good hands.
Drake will be coming up again soon as you watch the minimap. Keep your eye on how many members of both teams are positioning around it. can see Bob Jones, who currently still have a hefty lead in the overall gold count, as well as the last couple fights in their belt, are setting up for it early with the knowledge they can hold the territory if they take it.
I think for Bob Jones setting up for the Dragon, you got to look out for these TP wards, right? Offensively, I see a couple wards that are behind the squad of the Warriors that he could use to potentially make a play with Scion. And it seems like it's coming into the mid lane river here. Here comes the response. TJ, we have a fight.
Oh, God, and Valkyrie instantly deployed with the Magnet Storm. Eats all the aggression alive. And look at how bunched up the very front of this fight is. If conceded Smurf can kite, and so far he can. The damage to the backline of the Thompson Warriors will hold strong. So far, they've turned it. There is the damage coming in from Light Moon as well. UKEX picks up the kill. A double kill to Smurf. Light Locust will grab their own second if Bluethick doesn't get away. UKEX will have to hunt down the kill. But a very, very good choke point fight for the Warriors, entirely off of the strength of their tanks.
It was a great play coming in from Conceited Smurf. The ability to flash out of the Scion combo, and TJ, you called it. The fact that they couldn't get through the choke, and you have to deal with the Victor damage, the Ashe slows coming on through. Ashe went completely untouched in that fight, and yes, we talked about how Light Locust is behind, but when you don't put any pressure on the AD carry, it's going to rip through your team no matter what. A beautiful fight coming out here from the Warriors, and that gets them the Dragon and much better footing into the rest of this game.
And we talked at the very beginning of this game about where the Ashe Rel combo, excelled. It is literally exactly that fight. You put that fight on a whiteboard, it would be labeled ideal Rel fight. The Rel is so good in those tight choke points. It is stun after stun after stun, and Sheep eventually falls, but only after eating the focus for the first 5 seconds of that fight. All the while, Conceited Smurf and Light Locust are just dumping damage in, and Conceited Goon and UKEX can take position to take over tanking duties as soon as the Rel dies.
TJ, I want to touch on this real quick, just because it is a new item, and I like this coming out from Victor. Cosmic Drive, giving him some extra move speed when he lands those abilities.
Cosmic Drive fan.
Yeah, more kiting abilities coming on in, as defensively might have stepped too far up. Subjugate makes him pretty
there
easy
it
to
is.
take down. Yep.
Subjugate spent a very, very small sky on here, and defensively is trying to disengage. It's a good Arctic Prison there from U8 Slick, but he's not going to be able to find these kills. As the knock-up comes through, that's going to be a confirmed kill onto offensively. The rotate is coming through from Aericorn, but not going to be in time to turn this back. Oh, Forge God burns through the entire team, and it will be a triple kill to the Thompson Warriors here on the top side of the map.
Great turn coming out. Props to both mid laners for roaming up to the fight, but Corki, he wasn't able to get any damage down. He dies with Flash, and I believe Valkyrie up couldn't deal with the Ornhorn, and that is critical. The fact that he goes down, that Sejuani goes down, that's no jungler on the map, TJ. That means that Baron is free to take for the side of the Warriors. They seem to want to get that objective off the map.
You're absolutely right, and Bob Jones are just going to have to let it happen. There is nobody who can contest. The Warriors will get the Baron after an entire game of being behind Bob Jones yet again. The Warriors find 2-3 really good team fights in the mid-game and are now sizably in the lead.
The team fighting of this high school squad has been fantastic these two games. It has kept them in this game and now gotten them ahead. And TJ, I think it would be a crime if we didn't mention this once again. Conceited Smurf, just a monster on this Victor. They didn't have the Shen for UKEX both games, but they get the Victor instead, and it seems like the Warriors are very happy the fact that their mid laner has this champion in their hands, because this Victor is going off.
Yeah.
Going legendary again, most likely.
The ability of Conceited Smurf to stay alive in an arm's length from these team fights is really good, and you can thank Phase Rush for that. You oftentimes see Conceited Smurf shoot out of tight bunches of players. And because they're able to build that quick distance using the Phase Rush runes, the little speed boost granted by consecutive attacks landing on opponents,
Mm-hmm.
Conceited Smurf can build that distance from the bundles of tanks that are trying to kill them. And Bob Jones, different famous Bob, have the same problem that they had last game, which is they don't have an assassin to get onto the backline and properly threaten Conceited.
It might prove critical. This is the game. Bob Jones, these guys undefeated in the regular season. If they aren't able to take this state championship, if they drop 2-0, you'd have to imagine that's going to feel pretty bad for them after such a successful season. But the Warriors just so, honestly, I'd say further ahead than what it says on the keyboard or the scoreboard, just given the fact that Ornn, using his keyboard and his mouse, giving some gifts away to his teammates early, getting in the holiday spirit. Those ornaments coming on through the buffed up Leandries, the buffed up shield bow for this Ashe, gonna help shred the tanks on the side.
They're called
Of Bob Hope's. Huh?
I read them like earlier tonight. It's Leandry's Lament.
Yep.
And Blood Ward.
Yeah, you'll notice how I stopped halfway through. Then no, those. Oh, Conceited Smurf. You get this. Okay.
Wow. A huge pickup for Conceited Toon. That actually, alongside Smurf, manages to turn this right over the Magnet Storm. It's going to get worse. Yet again, Black Locust just free-firing in the backlines while Ukex and the rest of the tanks set the 2 damage dealers over on the Warriors up for success. Bob Jones handed another big loss right as the Drake comes up. This will be sole point to the Warriors alongside their 13th kill.
Ukex hits a 4-man Ornhorn off the TP TJ, and that's what turns the rest of the fight around. Drop to Conceited Smurf for trading the 1v1. Because of that, we're not going to talk about the fact that you didn't Zanya's get through that rest of the damage. Not going to worry about it. Good play coming on through. But hey, both carries going down immediately for Bob Jones. It's the danger when you run big tank comps, right? Once the damage is gone, you can't do anything.
Forge Fire Crack is the name of the buff Sunfire.
That's
Sorry.
No, that
fun information for you.
As a caster, I do not know the ornament name. I apologize.
Yeah, you're well within your rights.
Yeah.
The only reason I know this is because I was looking at it earlier today because I wanted to know what the Ornn stats did. And then just now I noticed that when Ornn upgrades an item, it shows in chat.
What I do know is that it is a 1k to 2k upgrade in terms of gold value, depending on the item. Some are worth more than others. At least that's how it was on the last patch. I assume it's how it is in this patch. Nice arrow.
A very good arrow start this fight, and like Locust, it's a little bit of a monster now.
Starting to get into this game, and we haven't talked about the power of Enchanted Crystal Arrow, ECA, right? We finally see it there.
Wait, who calls it ECA?
I call it ECA.
You call it ECA? When?
Yeah.
In what context?
Well, see, now that I have established that it is Enchanted Crystal Arrow and ECA, the viewers will know when I say ECA what I'm referring to in the future.
Is this like a collegiate coach thing?
No, this is like a caster thing.
Okay.
I like ECA, man. It flows off the tongue well.
Everything's fun when you get to hang out at the EC. No, it doesn't work. If you could add another letter, then maybe I'd be on board.
Ash, but AECA. AECA. Maybe.
We'll work on it between blocks.
Music video coming soon.
I mean, I don't think we have the song yet. I think you're supposed to start there and then develop the video.
Nah,
but I'll also be honest, not a huge record of music production. What I do have a record in is reading timers. The timers right now saying we're about to get another Baron, which is all important. Right now, Thompson are in a devastating lead, a huge advantage. It may not read it at the top of the screen, but it certainly does once you factor in the gold they get from the Ornn upgrades, as well as just their team composition, which specializes in these late-game team fights. So Bob Jones needs to either accomplish something devastating on the rest of the map, which frankly I don't know what it would be, or fight over this Baron and pull out a miracle.
Might take a miracle at this point, given the fact they are so far behind. The Mountain Dragons coming on through, helping the tank stack up those resistances, makes it even more difficult for this lethality Jhin to get through, TJ. And I want to see Bob Jones go for some sort of Hail Mary. Let's see a flank. Let's see a crazy play coming out. Try and pressure this Victor. Because if you fight front to back against this Victor, I don't think you can do it. Conceited Smurf has been smurfing this entire series.
Mountain Soul with Rel is just like the best possible dice roll. Because the stats get passed. So you basically get double value on one of your characters from the Mountain Soul.
That's true. I didn't think about that. So why doesn't Rel, so like that play that we saw in the bot fight where Trundle was synced up with Rel, why didn't Rel get an assist if Rel's giving armor over the Trundle? I feel like that's crap.
I don't feel like it does. I don't feel like it does lock assist.
Yeah, because like the classic thing to do on support is just shield someone about to get a kill to get an assist.
So I believe they're trying to tamp down on that because when they release Seraphine, you could just buy, still can just buy Dark Seal in the early game and you get like 15 assists for free.
Yep.
Just because you heal people before they get kills.
Yep.
I believe they're trying to make that less silly. Okay, all in. Barramantu Magnet Storm combo from Sheep doesn't save their life. They're still very low. Gun will be well timed. They will survive the fight. Now setting up the flank. Here comes Yukek around the side. The Warriors trying to press forward here, and it's working out. It is enabling their backline damage. Like Blue, just working away this whole time. Sheep gets the kill. That's already 2 down for Bob Jones. As the rest of the fight is cleaned up in short order. The backline holds strong. A double kill, pretty much a triple, over to Light Locust. And the frontline tank's able to claim some blood of their own for once. Yukek's doing a lot of work that fight.
Man, watching Eclipse Jhin just get ran down by Trundle Ornn, a little painful. I'm gonna be honest, but I'm a miss you, bud. He can't do anything into the tanks that the Warriors are throwing at him. Staying strong in this game, TJ, as that's Mountain Soul going over, that's Baron going over. Bringing out the purple suits, I have to say, I think the Warriors might make this one a 2-0, TJ. It's going to be a tough hill for Bob Jones to climb, and I think they're out of time and out of options.
Line Locust too far away, with Baron taking a while.
Hey, but he got Dragon. Worth it.
Okay. Drake's Soul, as you point out, in the hands of the Warriors. Last game, when the Ocean Soul was picked up, we called the game then and there. This game with both the Baron and the Soul in the pocket of the Warriors, I think it is fair to do the same. As we saw during the last team fight, there is nobody on Bob Jones right now that does enough damage to win these fights.
Jhin doesn't do enough. Iracorn, the Corki hasn't been it for me this game. And going this build, I don't think Trinity Force is as high a damage build this game as Divine Sunder. Considering the fact that does percent damage. And looking at the other side of the Rift, that's a death cap for Victor. Oh boy.
Yeah. So let's maybe start to frame it this way. Wrap up our discussion here. Is there anything that stood out to you as a collegiate coach about this series? What were the highlights? Warriors
team play. The Warriors team play has been fantastic. Like the fact that they're able to call teleports, they've been winning most of those first to the punch. And also some of the Dragon setups that both teams displayed. I think that Bob Jones showed nice river priority and like utilizing positioning of tanks. Offensively, needs to work on tank play a little bit for a Diamond 2 player, but I have a feeling that if you're climbing in top lane and solo queue, you're playing a lot of carries. Yeah, and also the Victor play from Conceited Smurf, it's been very good.
Yeah, we talk a lot in League of Legends about strong and weak side. And I want to give accolades to you guys for playing a really good weak side across this entire series, by which I mean the team's priority was never Yukek. Yukek understood that and was able to play safe and steady and basically just lose slowly in order to create opportunities elsewhere because they require fewer resources.
Absolutely, and that's key to any team, right? I mean, know your role, be as valuable to your team as possible, and that's a strength of Yukek's. I mean, I think the entire Warriors team has played very well around that because he has been a weak side. He hasn't gotten a lot of jungle help, but feels like he's strong side now. He's got the items. He's pretty fed and been doing work on this Ornn.
Yeah, late game Orn pretty much always a threat no matter what happens, and this game was a testament to that, as once we arrived in the late game team fight, UCAX has been doing all the Orn things you love to see. Did you get a couple more? Sorry.
Call the Forge God, man. You can't beat it. You get to engage from like 1K range and it knocks up everyone it hits. I mean, he got a 4-man knockup in the river. It's crazy.
During the last season when Orn was like extra popular, I was really into playing Braum. Just so that I could Braum shield the Call the Forge God.
Oh yeah. That makes me very happy to hear it, TJ, as a Braum enthusiast myself.
Hello, Braum enthusiasts. Stand up. I think it is a very good note to end this series on. Warriors, both games played with the understanding that their win condition was in the bottom line. In the first game, it was the Samara, and we were a little bit worried about the Samara, but the second the opportunity was there to make plays, Sheep, Darkpod comes in over the whole bit, defensively is trying to make a play, and they may have the numbers necessary to do it. Stasis will be possibly completed first. Sheep, of course, can tank the damage. TP in for UCAX, may turn this. Oh, good lord. Smurf got away, and now turns the table, re-entering the fight with so much damage. A double kill already, as Light Locust leads up the other side. And a desperate attempt from Bob Jones is handled beautifully by the Warriors.
There's the Zonyas I was looking for earlier. Well played, conceded Smurf, and well played to the Warriors. It looks like they're going to take this state championship 2-0, TJ. They reclaim their trophy, get it back this year in the fall. Congrats to the Warriors. Looking real good in this series and winning as a team.
As you say, the Thompson Warriors are the Alabama state champions. It looks like we may have a freeze-in game, so we're not going to be able to see the very end.
Probably surrender coming on through.
I assure you, that is the outcome, unfortunately. For Bob Jones, it will be an end to their undefeated record as the Thompson Warriors walk away with a massive win in the state finals.
Stepping up at the right time. This team, I mean, props to them. It's the same roster that won in last fall. The Dark Prod being a new member, but hey, all 6 players contributed, everyone on the coaching staff and subs. Congrats. That's a state championship going on over, and good play coming on through from the team as a whole.
Yeah, that was one of the... I know it was a little bit slower. So many people see that and feel like maybe the quality of play isn't as good. But that was one of the better series we've had throughout all of these state finals.
Yeah, I think if you're playing with Victor, you have every right to play the game slow.
Yeah.
Because I think we see how much work Victor's able to do once you get some items under your belt, and when it's piloted by a player like Conceded Smurf as well.
I think it was less dramatic, but we did see a lot of reversal during those games. There were a lot of different moments where either team was ahead, and 2 teams playing with a very clear understanding of what their win condition was. That was some pretty good League of Legends. I can't wait to see more. And as you noted, many of those players are seniors, so they won't be here next year, which means that if you're watching this and you do attend one of those schools, maybe you're thinking, I bet I got this. I bet I can play out this team. And if that's the case, well, you should be signing up for the next season of Play Versus. You can do that over at playversus.com. The spring season will be kicking off soon, so be sure to head over to playversus.com and enroll today for the next season. We're going to be back with more high school League of Legends. Don't go far. We'll be right back after this.